Hey, this is Soma79. Welcome to episode 5 of the Articulate Ox podcast, where artists talk about the art that made them artistic. Thank you so much for joining us. So, my guest today is Leah Donohue, who is a singer from the band Candy Criminals, and she's someone I've known for a very long time. She is a graduate of Berklee College of Music in Boston and is a very talented musician and singer. And just a very interesting person in general. She's also an amazing baker, which we get into a little bit during the episode. So Leah decided to pick two topics today, which I thought was interesting because they're sort of opposite to each other from a musical perspective. One is Tycho, and the other is Ryan Adams. And that is my cat over there turning my turntables on. So we'll see if that got picked up or not. Um, so so interesting. Tycho and Ryan Adams. I'll be honest. I had heard of Ryan Adams. I'd never heard of Tycho. I don't think I'd ever heard really any music from any of them, or at least if I did, I wasn't aware of them. So this is really the first episode where I was going in pretty blind. And so unfortunately, I did my research on their music, but I didn't do a whole lot of research on who they were as a person and their influence on pop culture and things like that. So I was a little unprepared for the conversation we had around Ryan Adams. A lot of it did center around the things he was accused of in the past few years and how it impacts cancel culture and all that stuff. So unfortunately, I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge about that ahead of time, so I had to sort of bluff my way through it a little bit and do some researching later. So I apologize for that. I'll know better for next time. I must admit I'm still kind of new to this. But I think we have a great conversation here. I will note this was recorded a few months back. If you would like to follow me, I am at Soma79 on Instagram. And you can find me at Soma79 on YouTube, which if you're watching this, you've already found me here. So please subscribe. Okay, thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy our conversation with Leah. Hey, I forgot to mention, stick around to the end and check out two songs by Leah Donohue. Undone is first, and then FAR is next, which stands for Feel Alright. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I am here today, Soma79 with the Articulate Podcast. My guest today is Leah Donohue. Leah, how are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
So Leah is the lead singer of the band Candy Criminals and another band, Acoustic Menage, and has another project coming up sometime soon called That's What She Said with Craig Cameron. Leah, you're the singer and you play keyboards in all three of these?
Yes, I do. And also my friend Josh is the lead singer. In case he watches this, don't want to diss Josh.
Yeah, get the
Yeah,
shout outs.
we're co-singers. Yeah.
Awesome. So what do you guys what do you guys been working on?
We do mostly covers. Everything. I mean, really everything.
Everything?
Rolling Stones. We've done. Now I'm blanking on the set list. I do some Ryan Adams myself.
Oh, good. We're talking about him a little bit today.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yep.
Yeah, just pop, rock. We do Watermelon Sugar. We do Sympathy for the Devil. Like we cover it all.
Awesome. Yeah. And there's some videos you guys online. Some stuff looks like it was shot live during the pandemic. So it was good. You guys were getting out there and actually, getting some music out there to people. Sounded great. You guys had a lot of people up there too. I mean, you guys had must be a lot of sound. I'm a rapper. I'm used to a microphone and some turntables, and I look at that and go, "Oh, that must be a pain in the ass, get all that stuff out there." But
It is. It's a huge pain in the ass, but all these people help me carry my stuff, so I'm fine.
Yeah. And the reason why you do it, I'm sure it's passion. And that's what we're here to talk about is inspiration and, what it is that kind of got you going doing your music stuff. So you want to talk about two artists today. It was Tycho and Ryan Adams, two obviously very different artists. One of them I was more familiar with the other. And part of the selfish reason I do this podcast is so that I tell people there's this podcast called How Did This Get Made that covers bad movies. And they've done about 300 episodes. And over the pandemic, I decided I was going to watch all of them. And
Wow.
I only have 8 left. And
Wow.
so I've spent like all this time watching, and I enjoy these. They're bad, but to me, I find them enjoyable. But I've absorbed all this stuff, and I'm like, I got to start getting some stuff that other people consider good. And I figured this is a good opportunity for me to connect with people, talk about what inspired them, and hopefully maybe absorb a little of that for myself or for others. But so Tycho was a really interesting one because he's doing something very similar to what I'm working on now. He's audio visual producer. I was blown away by the videos that I saw of him. He had
Yeah.
millions of Spotify views, so I was like, I'd seen the name. I mentioned to my girlfriend the topic was Tycho, and she's like, oh, like the Legos? And I'm like, no, not quite, there's an H in there. So I've been introduced to him recently. I will be checking out more. Blown away by his graphic design and his visual art and all that great stuff. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you got into Tycho and what your thoughts are and influences, and just kick this off.
Yeah, for sure. Well, years ago now, I was listening to Pandora, and I was listening to this band who I love, Fantagram.
Yes.
Another great band to check out. Do you know them?
I just name checked them in a rhyme that I wrote. It was like when I get small like Steve Martin or Green Marsh. It was like when I get small like Steve Martin or Green Martians, I black out for days like the band Fanagram.
Oh my, I just got the chills. That's incredible. I love Instagram.
Yeah, like that's that first big song. I forget what the song is. Oh, it's When I'm Small. Yeah.
I'm small.
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot that it was dual layered. I forgot that it was two Fanagram references.
The blackout days. Yeah.
I'm like right now. I'm like popping myself.
I need to hear this immediately.
It's funny. You know who's on it? Drums by Dan Bozzoli and guitar by Jason Temple.
Oh wow!
Working on a little something that I don't know if they've mentioned it all, but I got them sending me stuff and I'm assembling it together. Though I did tell them, I sent them the finished version, that the first draft of that song, and 2 days later I'm like, ignore that, it's all getting rewritten. But those lines are staying. So, but yeah,
well, listen, never done, right? You can always rework it.
No, and I haven't talked to them about the name yet, but I want to call it Microwave Sushi. So that's an exclusive here.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah, so we'll see what they say. So yeah, all right, back to you. I'll stop rambling.
Okay, so Fantagram, listening to Fantagram, and they suggest other artists, and then Tycho came on, and this song "Awake" came on, and I was like, I stopped what I was doing, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
It's a wonderful feeling.
And that was it. Rabbit hole. Just immediately fell in love with all of it. And then I got to go see him. So he is Tycho. His name is Scott Hansen, but his band name, his artist name is Tycho. But he plays live with the full band. And first time I saw him was at House of Blues on Lansdowne Street.
Amazing sound system.
I didn't know what to expect because it's so electronic. I'm like, I didn't know how it would be.
Yeah.
And it blew me away. Plus he has all this visual stuff going on behind him in the band. Yeah. And it's all live band. Like he's guitarist, bass, drums. So you have to just go listen to it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's got this very warm texture to it. I've gotten very into lo-fi music in the past few years, like chill hop and stuff like that. And it touches on a lot of that. And it's like, the way I try to explain chill hop to people is, it's sort of like hip hop minus all the aggression and all the lyrics, and that's what's sort of left. But when I see the way Tycho's approach to doing this is that it sounds very similar, but it's all based on a band. It's not like a band, but it's live musicians. And with chill hop, it may be a mix of the two. But to me, it's a real bridge between the two genres that I was very excited to see.
Yeah. He did. So another show that he did, I hope he releases it somehow, but he sold tickets during COVID for a show at an undisclosed location in Northern California in a field somewhere, New Year's Day. And it was just him by himself with his guitars and his synths. And he did a show at sunrise, like an hour before sunrise. It was, and then I watched it down here on my surround sound on my TV by myself. It was amazing, but it was only available for 24 hours.
And it hasn't reappeared?
No, I think he might release it. It's so, like, you could see the frost on his keyboards, and he had like fingerless gloves on. And it was so cold, but it was so incredible to see him do that by himself. Wow. And I just love his whole, like, he has this very chill vibe about him. And I never get sick of it. Like I could still listen to these same, songs that I've listened to a million times. And I just, my ringtone is Awake. Like I never get sick of it. If it comes on, I let it play out. And
So
now
this
he's
is
doing a lot of,
oh,
go ahead.
nope, keep going. I'll save it.
Um, he does a lot of like remix stuff on his songs. And so I will say, if anybody wants to listen to Tycho, my favorite, it's pretty much his trilogy of albums. So it's Dive, Awake, Epoch, and you could listen to those three in a row. And it's like not a concept album, but kind of like that. You kind of have to listen to him like that.
Mm-hmm.
He has some other albums too that are good, but those are my favorites. They're just, I don't know. I love it. I can't get enough.
So here's something that I sometimes, so like I mentioned, I listen to a lot of lo-fi and stuff, but I don't usually connect it to an artist. I feel like when I listen to music like that, I'm putting on a genre, or more often like maybe a record label, and just saying let it flow. And I probably could recognize the songs by ear, but would almost never tell you the names of some of these songs I've heard a lot of times.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I mentioned to you before, I was very excited to talk to you about this, because I was, I know you mentioned you do like, a lot of Rolling Stones covers, things like that. This to me seems like, I was surprised that this is someone that inspired you. So first question I had, we'll go into that in a second, is when you listen to this music, and you're putting on the artist, do you feel them? Do you know all the song names and stuff like you would these bands that we grew up with? Or is this just something that, does it all kind of meld into one? Because I find that with a lot of this music, it's just the details are less important. It's more about the experience.
I would totally agree with that. I do know some of the song titles, but if you threw on a Tycho song right now, I might not know the name because I do just get into it. I do have all the vinyl, so I do sit down and look at it, so that helps too. I do have the trilogy albums on twice because then they re-released them on this super cool color vinyl, and I had to have it.
Oh God, I'm a sucker for colored vinyl, all that stuff.
I love it. I love it.
It's like, I ordered a record in December on a whim, and it showed up like 3 months ago, and I was just like, oh, what a gift to myself. Like this beautiful piece of vinyl I forgot about. It's so exciting and fun when they show up at your house.
Yeah, speaking of that, everything is so behind. I've done the same thing, like pre-ordered records and completely spaced, and then here it is in the mail. Oh, awesome. I totally forgot I bought this.
You know what? I've been telling people this is a store. I think it's called HHV. It's in Germany. It's an online store that I've been ordering from, and the deliveries come really fast. And it's most of the records are cheaper than they're over here. And I'm like, maybe the exchange rate is just really in our favor. But like, I ordered something from there and I got it within a week. I was
Wow.
like, yeah. I was like, really? Like, but yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, so I'll send you the link. There's that one and another one, but yeah, there's a lot of great. I used to be nervous about buying stuff from over there, but I don't know, the Germans got the record business figured out. So
Oh, good to know.
yeah. So for someone who you went to Berklee School of Music, correct?
I did.
Right. So you I believe I remember you telling me that, was it Steely Dan that was at your graduation?
Yeah, the honorary doctorates that year were Walter Becker and Donald Fagen
I
and
think,
Gary Burton, not to snub Gary Burton, vibe player. He's amazing.
Yeah, that was around the time they were having a resurgence too, I think, because I think they had an album that was nominated for album of the year or something too.
Yeah, I think it must have been Two Against Nature.
Yeah, I think they beat out Eminem or something. It was like, what a weird, like,
That's
why do we
so
have competitions like this?
Yeah,
But so I've always associated you with more music like that. So I was really pleased to how did you, were you already listening to music like this? Like, how did you kind of go from the classic rock into this sort of genre?
Well, I guess I would say, so I don't think I ever really listened to classic rock. I would say like in the 90s, my favorite bands are Jamiroquai, Brand New Heavies, Steely Dan, Pat Metheny, who's a jazz guitar guy. You know Pat Metheny?
Oh yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. I kind of listened to a lot of things from my childhood. Steely Dan, Pat Metheny are definitely childhood artists that I listened to growing up. But I don't really feel like I listen to everything except country.
Yeah. Or
I
do
really,
you
really
listen to an old country? It's the only new
I
country I can't
don't
handle.
mind. Listen, if Willie Nelson's
Yeah,
on
Willie's, yeah.
or Johnny Cash, that's fine. It's still, this is gonna sound rude to all the new country people, but it's musical and it's not so.
It's
I
not an
just don't
Applebee's. It's not an Applebee's commercial. If I hear one more Applebee's commercial,
exactly.
that's like whatever.
I just don't care about any of that garbage.
Yeah, me neither.
So I'll pretty much listen to anything. And like listen, I listen to a lot of jazz. Just being at Berkeley, it's just that's just comes with it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I wouldn't say I was a big electronic person. So I think I was a little surprised myself when I found Tycho and just kind of fell in love with it. But yeah, I guess I can see why you're surprised by this. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So what influence do you think this type of music has had on the type of music you work on and you create?
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
What sort of influence has an artist like Tycho had on the type of music that you create, that you work on?
Oh God, I don't know that it has because I don't think I can write the kind of stuff that he like. I don't see the connection with my music with his, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because I run into this a lot with fandom in general, that, I'm a fan of a lot of different things. And I find that when I was a kid, I used to really love the Beastie Boys, and I couldn't figure out how they got it so syncopated. I didn't understand the way that basically beats were made. And then as I got older, I started figuring that out, and it got me involved making it, but the magic sort of disappeared. And then, so as I've gotten older, that's happened with different things like drawing, where it's like I'd see somebody do something that was really impressive. I'm like, oh, like you had to have been born that way. And you figure out, no, you just break it down and you do this. And then the magic disappears. So there's certain things for me, and it's funny, the last person I interviewed was a magician. And
Wow.
and like he blows me away. It's like I'm like the perfect mark for that stuff. But like I don't want to know too much because I don't want the magic to disappear. So I think there's sort of some things that it's interesting how there's some things I think we have as artists that we're influenced by, but almost like if from a distance, I guess. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you understand, you relate to
Yeah,
that, or
100%. So there was a time when I was at Berkeley, and it was at least a year where I could not listen to music for enjoyment. I we were so
yeah,
involved at school, analyzing all this music, writing by rules, writing by this, um, stopping it. And that to the point where if a song came on, I wasn't listening to it. I was breaking it down, analyze what are they doing here? Where are they going next? Why did they do that? And it became too much for my brain. It wasn't fun anymore.
yeah.
For like a good year, I couldn't listen to music just because. And so, yeah, that definitely happens. Yeah. And
I
then
can.
there's also like when you're writing something, the working it out and the technical part of it, that definitely takes the magic away because you're working on it. You're not feeling it. Like I've been doing this a lot recently, playing out. I'm so busy playing and trying to do my part in the band that I forget to just chill and be in it. Like I think I did that really like the last couple times we played out. Like this past weekend, I really was like, I'm just gonna stop focusing so hard and just play and sing and just be in it. And it changes it completely. It's
Yeah,
such a totally different delivery.
yeah.
And
It-
it's feels good. Like it's so hard to explain to people who don't do any kind of art. Like it's such the feeling of that. There's nothing else that can do that.
Right. And all these things have to come together, and the timing has to be right, and the preparation has to be, it is pretty indescribable. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny that the transition from going from somebody who listens to music to someone who performs music is also an interesting one, because I find that, I performed a little bit of hip hop back in the day, and I'll be doing more in the future, but like you find that you don't really know what it's like to be on stage till you get up on stage.
Yeah.
And you start seeing people, it's funny, you see people who are new to it, and they almost instinctively do things that they maybe saw other artists do. They stand in certain ways, and they do certain, and it's like a different way of like, well, I don't know what to do with my hands, so I'm gonna do what like this other person did with their hands. And you see a lot
Right.
of that with hip hop, with a lot of the, stuff like that. So and the other thing I find that changes is that your perception of like you start liking artists that maybe just music fans don't like. to some degree, where it's like you start developing these like crushes on artists. I find where it's like, oh, like this is your favorite artist, and like to a bit like Tycho kind of feels like that to me. He feels like maybe he's not the secret that I think he is, but he feels like an artist that the more you know about what he's doing, the more impressive it is to some degree, I
For
guess.
sure.
You know, I
Yeah. And
think,
sorry, I kind of, I know what you're saying. Like, I kind of like that he's a little bit of a secret. Like
yeah,
he's successful and he's doing his thing and he's making a great living and he's able to do that. And that's awesome. I just don't want him to get
yeah.
too big.
Well, that's what's cool now is that people can make a living off of, essentially a relatively small number of fans now.
Right.
It's like if
Yeah.
you have 10,000 people that are semi-invested, you could make a living off that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he has more. I'm sure he's got a lot more than that. And the worldwide audiences now too. And that's something too about this music is it translates, I'm sure, very well across borders.
Oh yeah. He tours all over the world. He did do this is a little bit off topic, but he did do an album called Weather, and he had a singer come on and sing quite a few of the songs on it, which totally changes his music. And then a lot of the fans were like, can you not? And then
Yeah.
he put out Simulcast, which is the same album without the singer. And he went back and filled in the gaps of all the vocals with other guitar stuff. And
That's
I
really interesting.
I prefer that album. No disrespect to the singer. I just
Right.
like he has little tiny vocal throw in here and there, but nothing. There's no melody, there's no verse, there's no chord, there's none of that. It's just
Yeah.
it's not even lyrics half the time. It's just nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard any of that. A lot of that's on Dive.
I'll
A lot
check
of
it out.
ahs and things like that. There's no real vocal part, if that makes sense. It's just part of the whole music.
Yeah, there's a bunch of great live videos on YouTube that I was watching this morning, and that gave me because I listened to a bunch of this on Spotify, but when
Mhm.
I just listened to it, it fell into that same category as lo-fi. I'm like, this is really cool, but I
Right.
didn't. But seeing it and seeing it perform live and the visuals really pulls it all together, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's and just seeing him talk about it. He's got a very I don't know how to describe his demeanor, but
I
it's
know.
somehow serious, but not
But
that
chill.
serious. Yeah, it seems like he's not the type of guy that's going to be yelling on like Facebook Live about something, which is cool.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. He seems like really genuine and he seems really introverted, but not. I don't know if that makes sense,
No,
but
I get it. Yeah,
he's to himself. He seems kind of just to himself, but I don't know. He definitely has that vibe.
yeah. I guess it's
And
beautiful to be able to write your own rules.
yeah. I don't feel like anybody does the stuff he does, and it's a whole package thing. Like all his art and photography, and it's all amazing. All his artwork is really cool.
Yeah.
And he also, well, one of the things I was going to say about him not getting too big is selfishly, I like seeing him at, House of Blues,
Small venues. Yeah.
or we played at the Wang, which was weird because it was seated. Um, but I did take Patrick to that. Craig and I took Patrick and Mason for their first concert to the
Oh
Wang to see
wow.
the show on a school night.
Did they
And
love it?
they loved it. They fell asleep partway through, but if you
Yeah.
listen to Tycho, that's understandable.
Right. Right. It's yeah. Yeah.
And
Wow.
these two young guys walked up to us before the show started and said to the boys, they're like, you know how cool your parents are that they brought you to Tycho and you're like 9 years old? And they're like, yeah, so what? We listen to this all the time.
Yeah, it's funny. I was having a similar thought about that as I was watching like the videos of you guys singing like the Stones and stuff. And I was like, is this, how do I put this? I'm like, are these cool parents or are we dorks and we don't know it? Because I'm like, if I
Oh,
was a kid and my dad was in a barber shop, and like, I'm trying to think of the times. Like this is like music of like the 60s and 70s, and it's like you
right.
bump it back a few decades. It's like the Dave Clark Five and like stuff like that. If my dad was in a
Right.
band like that, but like you guys seem cool. Like
I think we're cool. I mean,
it's hard to
I don't
know when
know.
it's like you're in your 40s and you're doing this stuff and
Yeah.
you're like, there was no when I was a kid, there was no one that in my realm that was like 45 or in their 40s like doing
Right.
stuff like this. So I feel like it's kind of uncharted territory. It's like we get to be like snowboarders because the people above us, the people in generations before us, like worked hard,
Right. Right. Exactly.
like
I mean, listen, my band, we do Radiohead, okay? So we do
okay.
we do a lot of
That's
it.
very true. Yeah, Radiohead's another big one that I know you like a lot. And this might be
Yeah.
a good time to segue into the other topic, Ryan Adams.
Yes. Let's do it.
So yeah, so as a brief history, Ryan Adams for me, I'm another person who I had to clarify to everybody that wasn't Brian Adams or to myself. And I'm like, okay, this is better.
Constantly.
I know what a bitch to have a name like that, it's like, but um and it's a name I've heard a lot over the years, for good and bad reasons. We'll get into that.
Yep.
Never really listened to much of his music, but I listened to the album Gold,
Yep.
that seemed to be the cover that I'd seen the most over the years. So what where did you get on the Ryan Adams train? And
I don't remember where the first song I heard by Ryan Adams was it's called Two, which I still love. And I don't it must have been on Pandora or something like that, or I don't really remember. I just remember always knowing it. And I was like, oh, I love that guy. And then I went to go listen to his stuff, and his catalog of music is insane. He has so many records and so many songs. And some of it I'm just like, and I didn't really it didn't really hit me right away. And I kind of just stepped away from it. It's only been the last several years that I've really gotten back into him. He I like his stuff with the Cardinals, and he has a lot of just Ryan Adams stuff too. He did cover the entire Taylor Swift 1989 album in
I
his
remember hearing about
style.
that.
Oh yeah, the Taylor Swift fans were not pleased. I happen to love it. I thought I thought it was better. Well, I don't really listen to Taylor Swift, but
I've never heard a Taylor Swift song. If I have, it's never been identified to me. So I have no opinion on her because I've literally never heard her.
yeah, she's fine. She's talented.
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
sure
it's not
she's
my
fine. Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
Although her two albums ago, I couldn't tell you what they are. Folklore or the other one. I don't know which one is which, but Craig again was like, he texted me one day and he's like, you gotta listen to this Taylor Swift album. I'm like, Craig, our friendship is on the line. And then I listened to it and I'm like, damn, that's really, really good. But
Yeah.
like Bon Iver was on it. Is that how you pronounce his name?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people on it too. Not to take away from her, but it was just
Right.
totally different stuff than what she normally does. And it was really good.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ryan Adams did 1989, and it's I love it. It's Ryan Adams style,
Yeah.
He has his own style, and I love it. Now I feel like when I'm writing, his stuff I can feel like I can get more into my music than Tycho, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just saw Ryan Adams, Patrick's third show. Actually, Patrick's first show was Fantagram at the Egg in New York and Albany.
I've never heard of the Egg. I was in Albany last year. Next time I go back, I'll check it out.
You have to go there. It looks like a giant concrete spaceship. You have to go up in this elevator to get it. It's insane.
How did I miss that?
Oh, it's really cool.
I'm only about like a little over an hour away from Albany where I live.
Yeah, you're not far. Yeah. I went to see Fantagram there. And anyway, Ryan Adams recently at the Schubert Theater District in Boston. I forget which
one of those places
place it was. And it was just him by himself with his guitars and his piano, nobody else, with his giant rug playing for 2 hours. And it was like the most intimate show I've ever seen.
Wow.
And it was so like you could hear it was so silent in there. It was incredible. And I'm very glad that he's back out there doing his thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So we should just get into that because, Ryan Adams obviously has had some setbacks in the past couple of years. I don't really even know too much about this, so I'm by no means an expert. I think I read a couple articles in Pitchfork when it happened because I had no real emotional attachment to the music. I was like, all right, well, this didn't ruin something for me that I already, was into. So, but I did think it's an interesting topic because, there have been times I'm a big wrestling fan. There've been wrestlers who've done some bad things and now I can't watch their matches. But there's also been some artists that have been accused of things that for some reason, like I still have Kanye West on shuffle. And this has been a real rough week for that. This may be the week that ends that, but I still listen to music. So how
Yeah.
has the things that have come out about Ryan Adams impacted the way you feel about him or his music?
So this is kind of a tough subject for people, I think. And I'm probably going to say some things that are going to sound very anti-feminist, but it's not. It's just, I think, so when it first came out, there was some stuff that came out about, it was like, it happened all in like a 24-hour period, came out that he had been, I think first, I think her name is Phoebe Bridgers, came out and made some accusations against him being not making her records because she didn't hook up with him. I don't know exactly what the wording was, but
Yeah.
that was the gist of it. And then it came out that he was being investigated by the FBI because he was talking to some female online that said she was 18, but she was not 18. And there may have been some inappropriate behavior like this, which I don't know the laws. And she was in a different state. They never met in person. It was dropped. It was never mentioned again. Nothing ever happened to him except for everyone in his life pretty much dropped him. This is based on his Instagram and what he said. He had no friends left. He was about to lose his house. The record label dropped him. He had 3 records coming out. They were all canceled. He got he got canceled immediately. And I love that we're living in a world where people are getting the support they need for things that have happened to them, women especially. I also don't love, and I'm not saying these women don't have any right to feel the way that they feel, but I do sometimes feel like some females can take advantage of that situation. And I just feel like it's really dangerous territory, because if you're a man and a woman says something against you, it's pretty much an automatic shutdown, whether it's true or not. And I think it's unfair because I don't know. Maybe he is an asshole. And maybe I know Mandy Moore came out and said stuff, and he did say back, Mandy Moore and I had problems during our marriage. We have talked about all these things. We've worked these things out. I don't know why she's talking about them now. It just seemed like an opportunity for her to come out and say that. Again, I don't know these people. I'm just.
You don't know the context of when she was
Of course
asked.
not. Of course not. She did say that, he held back her music career and she feels like she should have been a lot further along. And honestly, Mandy Moore's fine. I don't know if she's, if he didn't like her music and he didn't want to push it, that's not illegal.
Right.
That's just, okay, well, I guess you're not a supportive husband.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I don't think it's fair that he got so shut down.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess on the flip side, dropping somebody from a record label because you don't like the way people perceive them is also not illegal. It is the record business. And, you could argue that, he may have lost his support, but he is there's also millions and millions of other artists out there that also, it opens a door for them. It's like, it's not a job. There's no guarantee. There's no pension plan in the music industry, I guess.
Of course. Yeah.
And you see people like Louis C.K. that are filling up crowds. It's I guess I look at it as that it gives people the choice. And it's like we live in a capitalist country, for better or for worse, and people make their choices with their money. And you have the opportunity to continue supporting these artists, or you have the opportunity to not continue supporting these artists. I mean, I guess, especially in a day and age now where it's like, really, Ryan Adams doesn't need a record company to make a living. I mean, if he has people that are still willing to support him, he doesn't need the support of this system,
Right. And that's where he's at right now. And that's what he's doing his thing. And I just don't like when people are, again, nobody knows what happened or went down, nobody came out. There was no sexual, allegations made. The one with the underage female, even though she said she was actively participating in that, but it became an issue of her being a minor. So it wasn't really up to her.
Yeah.
But again,
that's a tough area of the law. I mean, I understand why it's there, but it's like, it's there to protect the kids. But like, it makes more sense when you're next to somebody in person at a bar and they're lying.
Yeah.
When it's on the internet, and I know a lot of dangerous, horrible things happen on the internet, it's a lot harder to police. I mean, there's a part of me that goes, I don't, even where I'm at now, if a stranger hits me up, I feel like, are they trying to get my money or what? I don't respond to, and it's like the more attractive the young lady or man, whatever it is, the less interested I am. I'm just like,
Right.
chill.
Yeah. Because
So, but
everyone's scamming.
right. It's hard. It's interesting because I find we do live in a society where people like things to be very black and white. And the reality is, and everything is very gray. He
Mhm.
probably has been a dick a lot of times in his life. I've
Yeah,
been a dick numerous times in my life.
sure.
A lot of people we know have been dicks. I mean, I'm saying this, I don't know the level of the stuff he's been accused of. I'm,
Right.
kind of learning about it now. But like from the level of being a fan and your ability to still appreciate these people, I think part of it for me comes with accepting that people are flawed in general. And in that like that that not all of us, all of our decisions would stand up to the scrutiny of, like, we've all sent a text message we wouldn't want to have read by Tom Brokaw.
Right.
And we wouldn't want to have read back to us in court.
Right.
And it's just, it's to some degree, like you said, I mean, I'm learning the details now, but there's stuff that it would sort of happen. There's it's not really a train of evidence. There's people making accusations and things like that. It's a little tougher. It's not like he shot somebody in
Right.
Times Square.
And it wasn't like a Bill Cosby situation where a bunch of women came forward and said, this guy drugged me and did these things to me, or, the Harvey Weinstein, where it was a lot of women making very detailed, you know, accusations against these people. It just
Right.
seems like, okay, well, to me, it seems like I'm not really going to support Harvey Weinstein because it seems pretty obvious to me that he wasn't a great guy.
Right.
I don't see that with Ryan Adams. And I think my point is that it's so easy for people to get upset about things and then say, well, look what he did to me. And again, there was no accusation like that. It was more like he wouldn't make my record for me because I wouldn't date him. Or I don't know if they use the word that he held sex over their head. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either. I mean, I don't.
But
So
nothing came
hopefully,
of it
yeah.
ever.
Hopefully, no one's gonna post them in the comments with the picture of him. Like,
Well, if that's how it is, that's how it is. I
I
mean,
know, but like,
I'm still, I know I still listen to Ryan Adams, even that I'm like, you know what, we'll see what happens. This is a very gray one. And I'm not seeing anything, you
well,
know.
I'd say, based on, like, there's been similar complaints about, I want to say allegedly Bob Dylan, there was some stuff about underage, and obviously Elvis. I mean, there's that too.
Right.
I mean, that seems to be I don't want to use the word fact because I don't want to get a letter, but like, there seems to be some alleged stuff with him and underage and grooming, and you know, it's it's weird how I think people in general, there's this battle between the emotional and the rational, I think, when it comes to a lot of these things, and we all sit on
Yeah.
different sides of fences where there's certain things that like make us like, all right, so last night I was watching, I mentioned before I love pro wrestling, but like I was watching it, it was 15 minutes left and blood was drawn, like somebody like started bleeding. You could tell it wasn't intentional, it was an accident, and I just turned it off because I am so grossed out by the idea of these people like bleeding intentionally and things like that.
Mhm.
But there's other
Yeah.
people who are just like, yeah, it makes it more realistic. And it's like, I don't know that mine is any righter or wrong, but like there is
Yeah.
that emotional element where I could rationalize and go, these people are going to be fine. One of the guys did get carried on a stretcher of concussion 10 minutes later. So yeah, it's dangerous, but okay. I don't know what happened there. I lost the
It's
audio.
okay. I lost
What was the last thing I was rambling about?
somebody got carried on a stretcher and
Oh
it's some
yeah.
personal preference, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
And so just like, I find that we all make these decisions. I mean, about that, we're making decisions about some information we only have a little bit above, that's been filtered through numerous people that also have their own different reasons for putting this out there. It's like, he'd
Sure.
have a reason for getting the truth out there. He'd also have a reason for getting a lie out there. Mandy Moore could have a reason to get the truth out. And like all these people could have different intentions. And we're just left here trying to like filter it out and go, well, how does this impact what I'm doing?
Mhm.
Does this make when I go for a run and put on a Ryan Adams song, does this make the run any less anything because of it? And it's an interesting question because for me, there's not really an answer. It's like we still, if Michael Jackson is still going to be, regarded by lots of people as being, what he is, and it's like that all trickles down,
Right.
you know.
It's funny you say that because I have a really hard time listening to Michael Jackson.
Me too, because I'm not a fan.
Oh, well, I watched the documentary and I was like, oh, that seems real convincing. And
Yeah.
again, nobody knows they weren't there. And I'm not saying he did it or didn't do it. That's all I think about now when I hear Michael, which sucks because I do like some Michael Jackson songs.
Yeah, I get by
I
with
don't care that much.
Yeah, I get by with Smooth Criminal by Alien Ant Farm. That's enough for me.
Oh,
Michael
so
Jackson
perfect
things.
then. You're
And I
good.
do like a lot of music like that. Michael Jackson's Bad was my first, not Bad, Thriller was my first cassette that I ever owned. I was like maybe in
Wow.
kindergarten. Like,
Wow.
it was that, Beastie Boys, License to Ill, and DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. I'm the Rapper, he's a DJ.
Wow.
The only one of them remains standing now. And that's the Beastie Boys. Because
Yeah.
Will Smith is, Jazzy
That's
Jeff
it.
is still our hero, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
But
Funny.
yeah. So what is he working on now? Is he working on new material and just kind of like was the show pretty filled when you went there?
They sold out the Boston, the website for the Boston ticket master crashed eight times that day because
Wow.
everybody was trying to get tickets.
How can that still happen? It's like, because I know like it's popular,
right?
but surely Taylor Swift has sold more tickets in a day than he did, like, or someone like that.
You would think.
Still
I
happens
mean,
all the
they're
time.
small venues. He played, like I said, it was the Schubert, I think. It was one of the theater district venues, but he posted, he's like, all right, he was asking for a couple months, like if I were to play shows, would you guys come kind of thing? And everyone is posting like, please, listing all their cities. And he's like, all right, tickets for Boston and New York go on sale on Friday at 8 or whatever. And I was literally on Instagram chatting with people on his feed, like, did you get in? I can't get in. And everyone's like, I can't get in. I did try. Like, it was madness. It was like a whole community of people trying to get in there. And I finally did get tickets, obviously.
I guess sort of begs the question is how canceled can somebody really be? Because that's something that I hear a lot where it's like, oh, this person was canceled, this person canceled. Like the fact that we're still talking about them kind of proves that they weren't canceled and talking about sold out shows and things like that.
Yeah. Well, he was gone for a while. He shut down once the FBI story came out. He was gone off social media, completely gone. And it was many, many months.
When the FBI is looking into you, that's probably a good idea, no matter what. It's to kind of take a step back,
Yeah. Yeah. And he just shut down. And then he popped back on one day and he did come out and say that he is sober now. He's no longer drinking. He didn't like the way it made him feel.
Yeah.
And he's like posting all this health stuff. He's like running all the time. And then he got back into the music. So those 3 records that were supposed to come out when all this stuff happened, he got them done. He got them done. And he just put them out like one after the next this past spring. Like within a 3-month, 6-month period, I have 3 new records by him. And they're amazing. Yeah. And so he's out there doing his thing. And yeah, of course there's going to be people who don't want to support him, and that's fine. I just don't think it's fair that when those things are said, everybody's kind of just like, I don't know. He felt, honestly, I really thought the news was going to be that he had killed himself. Like, not even joking. He made a lot of comments, a lot of dark comments on Instagram that I was like, damn, he's really not doing great. And it was sad. Right. But he's making a comeback. He's doing his thing. He sounds, amazing. He's so much music and so much of it is really good. He does an incredible version of Rat Round and Round.
Oh, really?
Just him on the acoustic. It's so good. So good. Yeah. But
yeah. Hey, he's doing it. I mean, that's sort of the funny thing too, is that like you mentioned, like the inferences to mental health issues and stuff, and like the responses you see to people on social media, it's like there's some people who's like, well, go jump out the window, and some people that are just it's like it really shows you how especially when you're talking about someone that's being viewed by tens and thousands of people, how it used to be a picture's worth 1,000 words, but those 1,000 words are different to almost everybody looking at the picture. And which is one thing that's really blowing my mind about where we're at now in general, where it's like even when we're all looking at the same thing, we're all getting something different out of it.
Yeah.
And we're still in a world where people like to see black and white, and there is no real black and white anymore.
Yeah, that is true. And we're also living in a world where everybody feels like they can just run their mouths.
Right.
That's the biggest problem.
Right. But
When people
the
interact
good
in
part of
public.
that is a lot of people aren't listening. A lot of people are too busy. I'm literally cutting you off as I'm saying this. Too busy running their own mind to listen to someone else.
That
But
was actually kind of perfect.
yeah, and it's like there's that certain degree where it's like, I mean, this story for him, obviously for him it was multi-year, changes in life and stuff like that. But I kind of came and went from the public consciousness, I think, pretty quickly. I mean, I'd be curious now that because I did mention a few people, oh, I'm talking about Ryan Adams on this podcast, and they weren't like, oh, the guy who did this, whatever.
Right. And that's good.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but,
And I know that one of the people that came out and said negative things about him, the Phoebe Bridgers woman, last I read, she was being sued by another record producer for slander.
yeah, it's like you take the record industry is a pretty goofy place and obviously our legal system's a pretty goofy place. So when
Yeah.
those two things collide, and then you also throw it in, these are creatives in general, and
Right.
like creatives tend to be a different breed. There's a weird mix going on there of business and commerce and personalities that often you don't know what to think. And then you think about
Yeah.
who like, and I'm not trying to throw all journalists under the bus or anything like that, but it's like, they're all looking for clicks. It's really easy to, it's just, there's so many people trying to get a piece out of the pie of anybody who has the least bit of the spotlight. It's, but on the
Yeah.
other hand, I sort of look at the spotlight as a game of capture the flag, where it's like you're only going to have it for as long, like it's not promised,
Right.
you're only going to have it for as long as you're going to have it. And there's a certain degree where it's like there's kids in high school who maybe like do something goofy freshman year and the rest, like they say something wrong to the wrong person or embarrass themselves, and that's the rest of their high school career.
Right.
And it's like, so that's like, you know, I, it tends to be that people are often defined by small periods in their lives anyway. And in the end, who the fuck cares?
Yeah. Who cares? I mean, honestly, I really try and limit how much time I spend online. I obviously go on for the band stuff to get that out there and my cakes,
Yep. Oh
constantly
yeah,
posting that.
your baking stuff is off the charts.
Oh, thank you.
Ooh, frosted by Leah.
I don't, thank you. I don't love all the nonsense, it's necessary. That's it. We're an online planet now. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
But I would prefer to spend my time like this. I mean, I know
Right.
we're using technology, but hey, spending time with people that I care about and that want to spend time with me and doing stuff together and going to
Yeah.
shows. Like I've gone to more shows in the past several years. There was a really 10-year period where I didn't go to a lot of shows.
Yeah. I was the same
Because
way.
my life is different. And then it's like, no, I'm back to it and I just love it. It's so important. For me, it's important. Not for
Yeah.
everybody, but
There is something else too about the cancel culture of it all, that like in general, like art, I think I've learned I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. I've learned to sort of think that art has an expiration date, and in general, that like, and I kind of got this feeling when I was listening to old Eminem records and hearing him use the F word, not fuck, but the other derogatory one. And I'm like, oh, this music that I knew that was wrong, but it didn't bother me as much then. Now bothers me to the point where this music has expired to me.
okay.
And that there's other stuff in general where like even I think I think most, like there's this movie, actually the poster behind me, Scratch, from this documentary. DJ Shadow's in this basement where there are all these, it's filled of records and like mummified bats and stuff, and he goes, everybody here thought they're on the top of this world, but eventually we all end up in this pile.
Wow.
And for me, I think that's been one of the ways that I've been thinking more about art, is that like, I don't think of it as timeless and something that's going to be remembered after I'm gone or something. I accept the fact that all of this is tangible and, at a high level could be destroyed by an asteroid from the sky, and none of us will be remembered. But I think for me, letting like, it's in like the example of like the Michael Jackson or something, where I said like letting go is okay sometimes. It's like making room for new things in your head. And I guess that's why, I guess maybe I'm just justifying why I sometimes don't get too crazy over some of these allegations and things. So it's like a lot of these things I'm willing to let things go, to let new things come in anyway. And if that's the way the wind blows that day, it's like that's the way the wind blows.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
You know.
Yeah, and even a little bit different from that. Like, I know for me, songs I've written, when I was in school, I'll go back and listen to them and be like, oh my God, it's not a bad song, but I should change it and do this, this, and this to it. You could change it forever,
Right.
So that's kind of an expiration too.
Yeah.
You change, your mood for the song changes, and then it could constantly evolve the same song over and over again.
I have a song on my album that I recorded the first verse when I was 27, I think, and the second verse when I was 42. And it's like
Wow.
that's like the point of the song. It's like it's
That's
structured to
cool
kind of be
though.
like that. Yeah. And so it's like I'm a big fan of recycling and keeping these things alive, and maybe allowing things to change and grow. And I think there's a lot of people. It's like I put on one of the newest Green Day records recently, and I swear I could not, if you played this record for me and gave you a million guesses, I never would have guessed Green Day. And I have
What?
no idea how they got from there, from like to like that. It just blew my mind. But things are
What
alive and
album
growing.
was it?
It came out in the last, I'm trying to remember. You know what? It must have been pre-quarantine, because I remember having a conversation with somebody at lunch in my office, like before COVID. So it was right. It would have been like the year before, like 2019 or something. But I
Oh,
literally, there's no way I could have recognized it. And but
oh
like,
wow.
and I think that the funny thing is, like, it's obviously does well enough for them to keep going, but fans like me had to sort of let go at a certain point, because you're like, well, this isn't, you know, I don't know. I guess it's one thing I run into,
Yeah.
what I sort of mentioned before about the fan versus the performer. Sometimes the fan never wants to see things to change, but the performer always wants things to grow.
Yeah. I think I was like that with Jamiroquai. I love their early stuff. And then the last couple, then I didn't stick with it.
Yeah.
The bass player also left, which was a big factor.
I was like that with Smashing Pumpkins. I loved them, and then I was just like, I don't know. Like, it's funny how that happens.
Yeah.
So what are you
Yeah.
working on now?
Oh boy. Musically or cakes?
Either, I haven't eaten yet today, so I could talk cakes.
Um, well, musically, I'm writing a little bit. I've kind of taken a little bit of a break, but mostly trying to get some more songs to play out live. So I've been doing with the Acoustic Menage band, I've been doing some songs completely by myself, just me on the piano.
Mhm.
So I've been trying to find a couple more songs to do that. I do Sean Colvin's version of CeeLo Green's Crazy.
Oh, wow.
She's actually really cool. Her version's really cool. She does it on guitar, I do it on piano, but it's pretty chill. It's good.
Yeah.
So just stuff like that. I do Criminal, Fiona Apple by
Oh
myself.
God, Fiona Apple, man,
Yeah.
she's
But that one we play that with the whole band. And then when I'm playing a gig with Acoustic Menage, I play that one by myself. And people are like, oh my God, this song, like, wow.
yeah. Do you like the new records she's put out, the past couple of, or most
I
recent ones?
haven't really, I think I listened a little bit to her most recent one and I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
But I liked what I heard and it got really good
Yeah,
reviews,
really good
I think.
reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And I'm not like, I like music like that. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I listened to that album a bunch of times when it came out.
Oh, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's great.
And then I also by myself, I do Ryan Adams' version of Wonderwall by Oasis.
Oh, I did hear that. That was pretty good.
I
I like that.
highly recommend. Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
That's a song that I feel like is never going to go away. And it's funny when like Oasis came out and they were sort of like, whether they believed it or not, or they probably did, saying they're going to be bigger than the Beatles. But a lot of those songs have really stood the test of time. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
when I hear them, I saw I think it's Liam Gallagher in
Yeah.
a flying something. I forget the name of the band. I went on a date a few years ago and I saw him it was the most I'd ever spent for tickets. I was recently single. I wanted to impress somebody. We were like fourth row at the Wang Center. I'm like, I haven't listened to
Wow.
Oasis in like years, but like I was pretty blown away. And he's someone else who's like, I mean, I'd say there's more evidence on tape of him being an asshole than Ryan Adams.
He's
But
the dick one, right? The other one's not such a
oh,
dick,
I
right?
actually don't
Okay.
even know. I don't know which one. I mean, I think they both have
He just
probably.
doesn't make the news.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Or like, maybe just being the lesser of two dicks, make you look like a good guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah, maybe.
yeah. But like, that music, it really lasts in a way that like, I hate and this crap for saying this, but like it has sort of melded a little bit into like a modern Beatles for me, where it's like it feels like music that can be played. I've seen it covered many different ways and in different, and
Oh,
it stands a test of time.
yeah. Yeah, their songs, I mean, they're catchy, they're fun to listen to. You know, I love that song,
Yeah,
the
and I
Ryan
love
Adams
"Don't Look
version.
Back in Anger." What's
Yeah,
the
we do that one too, actually. We just added that to our Candy Criminals set list.
yeah.
That's a good one.
I love the Start a Revolution in my head because they said the brains I had into my head. And I started a
Yeah,
revolution from my bed because the brains I had into my head. Like that's just like they're one of those bands that's just clever enough that like it doesn't like they're just kind of they're sly the way they write. You know, there's stuff that just it's like that doesn't get corny when I the more times I hear it, it doesn't get corny the way that some stuff does.
right.
You know,
Oh,
it's
maybe that would be timeless.
yeah, it is funny that like the things that we think are gonna last forever in don't, I guess. And I don't know. We're all still figuring this out too because we've never lived in a time where we've been able to absorb all this stuff before. I mean, literally, like VCRs came out in like a lifetime. Like
Yeah,
before,
right.
it's like there's almost too much of it. But
I mean, I had Betamax, but yeah,
do you have Laserdisc too?
never had Laserdisc. No, but we had
When I went to film school, everything they had was on Laserdisc. I'm like, this doesn't
really
give me
that
enough.
didn't last at all.
No, I think it's like, oh, it's huge, and you have to flip it over
Right.
and
Yeah,
never
what?
touch it. Don't
Oh
touch
my
anything.
God. Well, I would sell those when I worked at Strawberries on Route 9 in Framingham.
I tried to work at Strawberries so many times. They never let me. They never hired me.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
sad. There's a good crew that worked there. I love
Yeah.
those people.
And that's like I watched Empire Records not that long ago, and that gave me some like and I have a chair. I can't really see it here, but I have a chair that was I don't want to. I believe was probably I would say lawfully removed from Tower Records at some point. I think when they're going
Oh,
out of
wow.
business, and it's like this yellow like Alice in Wonderland chair we call it. That's at my piano. I found this. I got this awesome Hammond organ off the side of the road that some guy was just getting rid of, and he's like works perfectly with my grandfather's.
Wow.
And it's like, and it's weird. I've been having trouble finding like the model of it. It's I don't know, but it
Oh, that's
sounds
weird.
great. It seems like something that
Okay.
like maybe you use it at church. It feels old, but has a memory card slot, so it can't be that old. But I don't
Oh, weird. Yeah, I played one time when I played on Jay's record in
know.
the studio and I played it and I was like, this is so much information. I was just holding my feet up and
Yeah,
playing what I needed to play and he was turning because I couldn't do it all because there's no sustain pedal. So you have to, it's totally different. It was not
yeah.
easy.
This thing
But
has a bass that plays along with you if you want it
oh
to.
wow.
And I'm just like, this is all these cheaters at church, just like, you know.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, actually, let's talk about Jay Temple for a minute. He put out an album.
Yeah.
It's photographs in Emphyria, or you might be able to say it better than me.
Oh God. No, I'm not gonna now
I
you
think
put
it's
me on
photographs
the
in
spot.
Emphyria. It was a word that I had to Google.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Jay, if you're watching,
Ephemera.
that's something. Yeah, yeah. Liked it a lot. It was great. I was pumped to see you on it.
Yeah, yeah, it was so fun to do it.
Yep. And Jay's a mutual friend that we both grew up with. What was that like? What was the process of working on that album like?
Oh, well, it was like, okay, I know these songs, I learned them, and then, what do you want me to play? So that there was the choice between the Hammond and then just piano. And then they had a Wurlitzer, which I played, which was really hard to play. The keys were so hard to push, like, but I loved it. It sounded amazing. It was fun to play. And the guy who ran everything at the studio at Wachusett was also a really cool guy. It was a good vibe. Um, yeah, the songs are really good. I didn't really know what exactly I was gonna play, and he'd kind of changed some of the songs a little bit. So when I showed up, I'm like, well, we'll just figure it out,
Yeah.
which we did. We did. We cruised right through it. But yeah, it was a fun time. I miss doing studio stuff.
It, it
Yeah.
it's fun the few times to be able to get, and I've heard great things about Watch You. That I worked with a songwriter last year who'd recorded some stuff there, and she said great
Oh,
things about
sweet.
it. Um,
Oh, yeah.
it's just, but it's funny, like when you're talented enough and you are, those things that change on the day aren't a big deal, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like
If
it's
I'm
always towards
bored,
bettering the music.
yeah, yeah, we kind of just figured, I'm like, is that cool? And he's like, yeah, it sounds great. I'm like, he's easy too.
Yeah, yeah. It must be weird, I think, for an artist to put out a song And like, because you know that like for every song we've heard, there was 100 versions of it we didn't hear, and then really have to put the stamp on it and go, this is the final version of it, you know. And then when people go live to go see them live, and if it sounds any differently, they get upset. And that must be a weird thing. I imagine that there's a certain ring of hell of having to play that same song over and over again for the rest of your life. Like I don't know, like how many
Yeah.
times has the Spin Doctors played Two Princes? You know.
Yeah. God. I don't know if I could listen to that if it came on right now.
Yeah,
So
I don't
some
know if
song,
I could either.
done. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
But at the time, oh my God, amazing. What a fun band.
Yeah, we all loved Urkel in the early 90s.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really watch that, but
Oh, well.
oh, and just to clarify, the album is Postcards and Ephemera.
Okay. We may have gotten that right
Pretty
in there
sure.
somewhere. Yeah. It's available in the name's Jason
Don't be
Temple.
mad if I got it wrong, Jay.
Yeah. And so he was the one I mentioned before that I'm working on some music with too. And you've done some very talented young man. Young man, he's our age. You know, we're young.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Cool. We're cool and young.
Yeah. So we've been talking for a while here. Is there anything else you want to talk about music you're working on, or any of these artists we brought up, or any of that good stuff?
I think I do have one thing to say.
Yeah.
I still do listen to Louis C.K.
I'll tell you, there was
It never stopped.
his stand-up for me was always wasn't always up my alley, but there was a 3-episode arc of that show he did where he's trying to take over for Letterman, and Seinfeld is competition and David Lynch is his coach. And
Okay.
it's amazing. It's barely even comedy. It's about him trying to talk himself up into thinking he's good enough to replace Letterman, with Seinfeld, barking down his neck, and David Lynch like yelling at him to be better. If you haven't seen that, you have to.
I
haven't gone
haven't.
back. It's his show. Louis was really, really remarkable.
Yeah. I'm sure I've seen some of those. I definitely saw his first stuff that he did with Pamela Adlon.
Oh, she's great. Yeah, the voice of
Yeah,
Bobby
but that
from
show
King
is,
of the Hill.
oh yeah, I think she is. Yeah.
Yep.
She has a great show too called Better Things on FX. That's so good.
I'll check it. She's great. Anytime she pops up in anything, I'm excited to see her.
Better Things. It's really good. It's a series. It's got a few seasons. I don't remember what his first show was called. It wasn't called, but Louis
it was called Lucky Louie, I think.
It was Lucky Louie. Okay, yeah.
I never saw that one.
The Louis stuff. That was good too. Yeah. I love him. I mean, the stuff I heard he did, yeah, it's not cool, man.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
But he asked, right?
Well, what's weird is that I think it goes back to the we could just, especially if you go back before a certain time where people you could destroy. I watched a George Carlin documentary. I'm an enormous George Carlin fan. There's stuff in that documentary that in the right news article at the right time, he would have never been in Bill and Ted's. And it's like there's stuff like that, and it's hard as I understand when some people cannot, just like that's it, because there are some people like that I am like, but it is hard. It's like we're still kind of all figuring this out together, like how we sort of deal with these things that used to be private that are now public, and how we it's like if we were in the situation before they were private, we had all the information. Now they're public and we have very little information. It's hard to know what to do with it, when it's not really cut and dry. It's who knows, it's hard. But and
specifically with him, I get why people would be like, yeah, I'm not gonna listen to him anymore or support him. I get it. It wasn't a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
But then it's like, if he did ask permission, I mean, it was probably know your audience, right?
Yeah. I don't even remember the details in that very much either.
Well, he was in his hotel really late at night, and some female comic came in to hang out for some other reason. And he asked if he could, just take care of himself. And I think he started before she answered.
Yeah, that's not cool. It's
not cool.
I would argue that it's an odd request to make. It's
bizarre. It's not so typical.
I would say that you have to give somebody more than a few sequences to answer that, because it's not a how are you question. It's not a how's the weather. It's
right. You wait for an answer. Right. Wait for a solid answer.
There was one thing too that you mentioned too about Ryan Adams getting sober. I mean, this country's got a very weird relationship with alcohol. And I think it colors a lot of things. It's like, I don't really drink, the periods that I did, but I haven't been drinking for a while. And it's like, it's funny how much we have accepted this kind of devastating presence in all of our lives because of the little bit of joy that it also brings. And I think, I would imagine I've made some bad decisions because of alcohol, none that have landed me in the newspapers or have ruined any
Right.
lives, but like, you imagine how hard it, like if your problems are blown up or if you're already on a global scale, like alcohol feels really dangerous. Like I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's
You don't get a pass there. Like
yeah,
that is dangerous territory for
yeah,
sure. And
yeah.
it's not for everybody. Alcohol is not for everybody.
Right. It makes me wonder how once we have full generations of people who grew up in this environment where, things are, or even like this conversation between us being recorded. We never had recorded a conversation before. It's like, as full generation people grow up in this, what impact that's going to have on stuff like this, where like, are we going to get better at being able to sift out the truth from the fact, or are we all just going to get better at being paranoid and have that either being paranoid into being better people or being paranoid into better covering our tracks? And that's something that I think time is really going to answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've done a lot of rambling. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much in this over you.
Oh my God. No, this was so much fun.
Yeah. Well,
I
let's
was
talk.
nervous. This
Ah,
was so easy. I
appreciate
do
it.
have one question for you.
Yeah.
The chair that you got from Tower Records, that's
Yeah.
the Tower Records in Boston, right? On Newbury
Actually,
Street in Mass Ave.
yeah, it's right here. Hold on one sec.
I love that. I've spent so much time in that Tower Records. Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yeah, an ex-girlfriend of mine was working there, I believe, when it shut down, and she liberated
Brad.
it.
It's good. It went to a good place.
Yeah,
I'm glad you have it.
yeah. So yeah, that was the original. I missed what you were saying, but that was the original Tower Records in Boston.
Yeah, yeah. Have spent a lot of time there listening to CDs at the listening stations, and I've discovered some really good music there too.
I
Doing
discovered
that.
one of my favorite movies there, actually. My favorite 80s movie, 3 O'clock High. If you've never seen that, you
Oh,
got to see it. I sat
I
there and watched
heard of it.
maybe 45, 50 minutes of it where they had their movies playing down there. I'm like, how have I never heard of this before?
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
It's
I'll have to
great.
check it out.
Yeah, it's I
Awesome.
highly recommend it. But yeah, Tower, man. Are there any of those left? There can't be.
Maybe I feel like there might be one out in LA or something, but
Oh,
don't.
maybe.
I'm not sure. I feel
Yeah.
like there is, but I don't know.
But Amoeba gives you that same feeling if you're going to be out in LA anyway, because Amoeba Records is just amazing.
I've never been to LA.
Oh, well, if you ever go, Amoeba, it's records
All
in San
right.
Francisco and LA is pretty much one of the best record stores you're ever going to find.
Oh, cool.
It always blows my mind how these places stay in business. Like you go into a comic book store or record store, you're like, how many used copies of like U2's like under the, whatever do you have to sell to like keep the lights on? They're there
Right.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're doing well.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get some, especially the amount of records I've been buying lately.
Mhm.
God. Yeah. I'm the type of spending that's going to help this economy, stay on track.
Yeah.
All right.
Are you
So
on Discogs?
I'm not. I am. Maybe I am. I never really. You can buy from them too, right?
Yeah, they have like a marketplace on there,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's
I've
cool
never
just
really
to see
done
for their
that, but
libraries.
yeah, I'll go on there sometimes to figure out if the version of a record I have is like the old one or the new one or the repress, whatever. But
Right.
pretty cool site. So, all
Yeah,
right,
but
let's
you can
talk.
hook up with friends on there
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
and you can see each other's
yeah.
uh
Collections.
yeah, yeah.
I don't want anybody
Anyway,
breaking my house, and I know I have some good records.
oh, that's
uh,
true. Never
it's
mind.
funny. We have our mutual friend Pete, who's a lawyer. I was talking to him about doing a will, and it was like right before a long weekend. He's like, "This is sort of morbid." I'm like, Pete, like, if it makes you feel any better, I'm gonna leave you most of my good records. He didn't reply. So,
Nice, Pete.
yeah, I know. I had to get back to doing that. So,
Yeah.
so let's talk about where people can find you. Plugs. What's your social or your any of that stuff, or you want to be found or not want to be found or whatever.
You can find parts of me on Facebook. because they are not on Instagram, which I'm working on. Candy Criminals. It's the
Great
band. We
name.
play locally, Worcester, Mass, Millbury, Grafton. We'll be playing at the Valley Pub in Whitensville, which I've never played at.
Very cool.
And Acoustic Menage, also on Facebook, and Frosted by Leah, Leah, on Instagram and Facebook. If you are local and you want a poison-free cake, that's
Boy, it's
where
very
I'm at.
suspicious when you say poison free.
I don't use garbage. I use non-GMO organic ingredients, no food dye, unless they want like Cookie Monster, then you're getting food dye.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I do. I have a lot of, all my cakes are on there. So yeah, check it out.
Truly amazing that when we obviously have a bunch of mutual friends. When I hear you're going to be there and there's going to be pastry, that definitely helps get me in the car. I think you brought some cupcakes to my 40th
for your birthday. I did.
Yeah. I was really trying. I think I only had like one because I was really trying hard to be good at that point in my life. My weight has been an up and down struggle. I spent an hour in the elliptical this morning. I'm still recovering.
Oh God. One cupcake doesn't hurt you. It's good for your brain.
Yeah. So it is possible to eat one cupcake. I guess I did that once. But
here's my method. I make so much cake that I don't want any more cake. I don't eat it. I rarely will eat it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
funny. It's like, as an artist, sometimes I draw so many comics I don't want to read them. So it is funny that, like, we were talking before about ruining things, and it's really easy to do that,
Yeah.
But I guess when it's something that's going to shorten your life, like sugar, it's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, just indulge and then you get over it and you move on.
But if you're going to eat some, eat yours, because it's oh God, your cake's so tasty.
Thank you.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. It was a really great conversation. I hope people enjoy it. And I look forward to catching up with you in person.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Tim.
Hold on one.